What are the different stages of financial independence? I'm going to break that down for you right now. Okay, so what are these different stages of financial independence? What is financial independence? How do we even create it? How do we make it work in our life? But really, what's the step-by-step process to get there? And just so you know, I had to do it twice. I first became financially independent when I was 28 and did it again when I was 39 after I lost it all. So I'll tell you, I've got plenty of practice with this. I'm going to show you what works and maybe what doesn't work. Okay, so let's talk about these different stages of financial independence. As I mentioned, I actually was able to get to the point where I was financially independent, meaning I had enough passive income coming from my investments and even some passive business streams that I was able to pay for all of my expenses at home. That's what financial independence is, right? Is that when my passive income meets whatever my expenses are, and I don't have to work an active job or business anymore, then I'm financially independent. Now that's not financial freedom, and I'm saving that one for a different video for you here on this channel, so be sure to subscribe to it. But with this financial independence, we want to make sure we have that enough passive income coming in. Now, here's the thing, is that there are some steps to do this. I want to talk about these 5 steps right now. So number 1 is really this launch pad, as I call it, right? I look for the low-hanging fruit. What's the stuff I can grab at easily? Now, this requires you to do a few things. One is we got to know where point A is. We got to know where you are and also where you need to go. So for example, if you do actually know what your expenses are each month, that's good. Now, if you don't know what your expenses are each month, and everybody should be doing this anyways, is start tracking your money. Start to track your money, knowing how much you're spending each and every month, how much is left over. That is so important. You got to understand your personal cash flow position. And so the first thing to do is, what am I actually spending per month to become financially independent? What does it take? What's that point Z for me? Or Z if you're up north, right? Or in other countries besides us weird Americans. But for us, looking for that end point, we got to know the end goal to get to financial independence, but we got to know where we're starting from. Start tracking your money. I recommend using things like Rocket Money, Monarch Money, something like that, where you can start tracking your actual expenses and your income coming in, so you know exactly what's happening. And be sure you're doing that not just once every so often, but I would recommend at least every 2 weeks, if not weekly, just so you can stay on top of everything and really understand it. That's the first step. And also when you're doing this step, here's the great thing, is that if you start to see where your expenses are, say that you're making $10,000 a month, but you're spending $9,000 a month. But you realize as you're going through those expenses, you say, you know what, I forgot I have these subscriptions. Why am I paying for this every month? Start going through and finding out the stuff that's not really worth it for you. You might save $500 or $1,000 a month in subscriptions. So say that between that and maybe you can reduce some costs here or there, or maybe you see this credit card, you're like, I'm just gonna pay this thing off, get rid of it, and I'll free up another few hundred a month. Great. Well, guess what? Now, if you freed up $1,000 a month, you don't need $9,000 a month to be financially independent because that's where you were before. Now your expenses are $8,000 a month. Now you only need to hit $8,000 per month. And this is what we do when we work with clients is we first and foremost look at their cash flow. What money's actually coming in? What's going out? Sometimes a lot of clients will say, well, I need this much. And then I realize wait a minute, that's because you're throwing all your money away into this 401k. You're locking away in prison. So it is an expense, but you don't really get to see it. But that doesn't really count. You only need, instead of, in this case, there were $8,000 a month, but they're saving $1,000 a month in that 401k, you actually only need $7,000 a month to be financially independent. Let's get you there first. So that's one of the biggest things we try to do is what's really happening beneath the scenes. Because cash flow, your income minus your expenses is cash flow, that profit. That's what actually allows you to either 1, pay down your debts, or 2, be able to build up more savings. So really that's the biggest focus. I hate the fact that everybody's saying, build savings, throw in the retirement plans, which does nothing for you on a month-to-month basis, does it? Only money goes out, but it never comes back to you. And so your spouse is thinking, okay, great, it seems like we're really tight every month. You're like, yeah, you gotta be on a budget. Why? Because you're trying to stuff money into those 401ks you won't see for 40 years. So instead, focus on what can I do to have more cash flow now? This is where I also look at things like what's actually liquid and available. See, putting money in the 401k, it's stuck. It's stuck in there. I can't touch it unless I get fired or get laid off, and I don't recommend that. But if I got money in savings, that's money I can use. So do you have money in different savings accounts? Do you have money market accounts, CDs? Do you have money in mutual funds or normal stocks or bonds, things that are not locked in a retirement account? Do you have old 401ks from a previous employer that haven't been rolled over into the current 401k? Did you know that's money you could be using right now to generate passive income? You could be using that. You've got money that's also could be in Roth IRAs or things like that, or just normal traditional IRAs. You've got money that could be in equity in your homes. Did you know you can do that and get that out? So during this launchpad phase, 1, we're not just looking at cash flow, but then 2, we're looking at potential. Where is our liquid cash? This is why I tell people is to get lean, get liquid, and get out. Get lean means make sure you're a wise steward of the money you are spending and make sure you do have that positive cash flow each and every month. That you have more money that you have or that you're earning versus what you're spending. But get liquid means you get that money cash liquid in your hands that's available. Locking up in a 401k is not liquid. If you try to pay down your mortgage fast, that's not really that liquid either. So be careful of that too. Paying down your mortgage could be the worst thing possible in your situation right now if you want financial freedom within the next 40 years, or even after that for that matter. Now, that's the launchpad phase. Now we go into the phase 2, which is explore, right? Explore opportunities. This is where we get to the get out phase. I said get lean, get liquid, and get out. So I mentioned get lean is being a wise steward, tracking your money. Make sure you reduce costs that don't need to be there. And also, by the way, a bonus on this, how can you earn more income too is another great question to be asking as well. 2 is get liquid. Make sure the money is in your control and in your hands, not locked away in things like 401ks or retirement plans or into the equity of your house where you can't touch if you need it for that matter. So get liquid. And then when you have that money liquid, you can also get it out. You can get it out to generate passive income for you right now. And so that's where we go into phase 2 of exploring opportunities. What are those things I can do with my money? Most people think the only thing you can do in investing is throw your money into mutual funds, stocks and bonds. They're like, that's my whole thing I've been told about investing. Now, you might have heard of real estate investing, like buying your own house. Maybe you buy a rental next door, but that's not what we're talking about here. There are so many ways to invest in what's called alternative investments. Alternative investments are anything outside of Wall Street. They are Main Street investments, not Wall Street gambling investments. Wall Street's the stocks, bonds, options, all that kind of stuff, right? Main Street's like, do I invest in business? Do I invest in things like real estate? And by the way, did you know there's more than one way to invest in business and real estate? For example, I don't have to actually run a business to invest in business. Do you know I can buy a franchise? Or I can invest into a franchise, like a car wash business, where I pool my money with other investors. I get ownership, I do none of the day-to-day operations, right? I can also put money into things like oil and gas, mineral rights. I can actually make money there from the things that pulled out of the ground. I can make money on real estate, but not just buying a rental, although that's one way to do it, but I can lend my money to real estate investors. I can do things like that. I can literally put my money and buy it into like an apartment building. Again, pool my money with other investors, because I probably couldn't buy it by myself, especially if you're starting out, right? Pull my money with other investors to go like an apartment building or to self-storage units. By the way, self-storage units don't deal with tenants. That's kind of fun, right? By the way, when people downsize, guess where they put their junk? Not in the garbage can usually, but usually in the storage units. You can make money off of that. So sometimes during recessions, storage units can be a great way to go. You could also put money on things like raw land. You can, like I said, you can lend money to real estate investors while they're trying to do fix and flips and things like that. Or maybe just lend money to investors that are trying to develop in projects over years. And they'll pay you up to double-digit returns. You can literally make at least 10, 12% a year into some of these investments. Now, nothing's guaranteed. Everything has risk, right? So just be aware that it's not like, if anybody tells you it's guaranteed, you know they're lying to you. They're just trying to sell you crap, right? There's always risk. But I'll tell you, like, I've found less risk doing real estate than I ever did when I was investing both as a financial advisor in mutual funds, as well as when I was a stock trader, even teaching people how to trade stocks and options and how to do it with less risk. But still, it was very risky compared to what I do with real estate today. So that's where you start to explore opportunities. And that's where it's really beneficial for you to find somebody who actually does this stuff. If you want to be a passive investor, it's good to find those people that actually are taking your money. They're being the active investors while you're the one financing it. Now, this is one of the toughest things because you've got to make sure you're betting on the jockey, not just the horse, right? Who you put your money with is almost more important than what you're putting your money towards. So again, finding vetted people is very important. Now, I'll tell you, if you ever go to moneyripples.com, we actually have a consulting program that we do with one-on-one. We match people up to do that, where we actually already have vetted investments, vetted people that we've used for ourselves, for our own investing that we've used over the years that have great track records. So you can either create your own, and that will take you years to do, like it took me, or you can borrow somebody else's, like ours is, like when many of our clients will borrow our network and use them too. That's where you explore, and then you start to commit to that money. You start to make the deal, right? So you can look at options all day long, but at some point you got to eventually put your money where your mouth is and put your money in those deals so then you can start generating that passive income. So that's phase 3, is now we start to really make the deal, make it happen, right? So don't just explore forever. And trust me, I've had people come to me, they say, I've been looking at these deals for 5 years, haven't invested a single dollar. I was like, well, it's about dang time you did something with it, right? So start to do that. So you start to commit and put into those deals. Now the passive income starts to come in. Now that's going to feel like grass is growing sometimes. It's going to take some time because say you invest $100,000, they pay you 10% a year. Well, that's $10,000 a year. Well, you're not going to always be investing, and some of these deals will be at least minimum $25,000, $50,000 you have to put in. You might be waiting a couple of years to do the next deal. So in the meantime, you start to build that moat around your castle. As you're building your castle and growing it, build the moat to protect it, that waterway, right? To protect your castle and the walls. That's why you need things like the proper attorneys and accountants in place to make sure you minimize your risk. You make sure you have the right insurances in place and doing things there to protect your money, because you do not want one single event, a car crash, a lawsuit, or anything like that to take all that hard-earned money away from you. So you got to protect that. That's stage 4. And then stage 5 is the best one, is that income avalanche. This is where you take that passive income plus whatever money you were saving. A lot of people stop putting money in their 401ks because they say, wait, if I take that 20,000 euros max funding my 401k, add it to that 10,000 euros now making in my deal, now I've got 30,000 a year. I can then reinvest and keep increasing my passive income by thousands each and every year. That's money that's actually in your pocket today that your spouse will actually love and your kids will enjoy it, versus sticking that 401k where it's a negative 100% return because all the money's going out and it's just sitting there on a piece of computer. I don't know if that's even a right phrase, right? A piece of paper if you get a statement, or computer screen if you're looking at the zeros and ones, right? Sure, it looks good there, but your day-to-day life does not improve without that income. And that's the key thing. That's the key to financial independence that's worked for me, for many of our one-on-one clients as well. It's awesome when you get that process going, when you get to reinvest that money and keep growing and improving your cash flow over and over to the point where a lot of people can actually become financially free, at least independent, if not free, within 5, 10, 15 years, not 40, 50 years, like so many people have been trying to do, and then they live on this slight budget that they can barely live on in their retirement days, just trying to stretch out their money as long as they can, hoping that they die before they run out of money. Right? Sad, but it's true. And so if you want to see like what's the passive income potential in your situation, go to moneyripples.com. There's a passive income calculator you can fill out completely. You can actually see what you can actually create in the next 12 months legitimately with your situation. Go try that today at moneyripples.com.